All right, boys and girls, today we are going to start our angles chapter. This is the first chapter of material that we're going to cover during our geometry unit. Today what I want us to focus on is recalling our prior knowledge, which you'll see this page up on the screen, and you'll also see it on page 81 of your textbook. We are going to review some really important vocabulary today that will really help you understand what an angle is. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. As we work on problems today, you can write down the answers in your math notebook if you brought that home with you, or just on any piece of paper that you have at home. Let's start by looking at the three really important vocabulary words up at the top of the page in the purple box. As you can see, our first word is point. The definition is that a point is an exact space or location in space. There's an example. It's just a dot. So you can put a point anywhere, and then you want to name it. So in our example, they called it point B. So you can see I can draw a point and also label it. I can draw a point right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and label it as point P. Our next important vocabulary word is a line. This can get mixed up a lot with a line segment, so make sure you're really paying attention to this explanation. A line is a straight path continuing without end in two opposite directions. So that means that a line can go on forever and ever and ever, no matter what. So you'll notice when you look at the example at line CD, it has two arrows on the end of the line. Those arrows show us that the line can keep going in those directions forever and ever and ever. Lastly, we have a line segment. This is different from a line. If you look at the definition, it says a line segment is a part of a line with two end points. So if you look at our example, you'll notice that line segment EF, it does not have those arrows on the end anymore. It just has 2 points. Those show that this is just a part of a line. Remember, the word segment is a synonym for part or a piece of. So EF does not continue on in those directions forever and ever. It's just a part of a line. Now, in your own math notebook, I want you to practice drawing these 3 things. First, draw a point and label it with a letter. Then create a line and label it with 2 letters. Don't forget the arrows. And then also draw yourself a line segment and label it with 2 letters. I'm going to try it too. Pause the video now to try it on your own. Once you're done, hit play and let's see if our answers look the same. Here is my point, and I'm going to label it point S this time. Here is my line, and I'm going to make sure I put those arrows on the end so I show that it goes on forever and ever. I'm going to name this line M, N, and then my line segment. So that means that I need to have just endpoints on the end. No arrows, because a line segment does not continue on forever and ever. And I'm going to call that line segment a B. Okay, next up, let's talk about angles. You guys have learned about angles before, but we're going to review what that really means. So here on the bottom of page 81, you see a definition. An angle is formed by 2 line segments with a common endpoint. So that common endpoint is right here. It's this little dot where the angle is connected in a corner or in a point. The angle, when we measure it, it measures the space in between the 2 lines there. You can also form an angle when two sides of a figure meet, like in the corner of a square or rectangle. So you can see that those two lines meet up in a corner and they make an angle in that space in between. Okay, next up, let's review what a right angle is. We can go ahead and try this activity even though we're at home. What I want you to do is take any piece of paper and fold it just like is shown up on the top of page 82. It says fold a piece of paper like this to get a right angled corner. So any piece of paper you have, you're going to kind of fold it in half and then in half again. So you fold it into 4 parts. Then you'll notice that the corner that is made makes a perfect right angle. You can see that the corner would fit perfectly inside these examples of angles. Those are right angles. They're a perfect corner or 90 degrees. Now, once you have your piece of paper folded, you can hold it up to the angle shown at the bottom of page 82. You'll notice, if you folded your paper correctly, that your paper should fit perfectly inside of angle E here at the top of the next box. You'll notice for angle F, this angle is smaller than your piece of paper, and angle G is bigger than that 90-degree angle. So your piece of paper isn't big enough to fit inside that corner. We're going to learn what we call those different types of angles in a future lesson. Now that we've reviewed some of that important vocabulary and some important facts about angles, now we're going to do some quick check questions just to make sure we really understand. Please write these answers on a separate piece of paper, either in your math notebook or just on a piece of paper you have at home. For numbers 1, 2, and 3, I want you to write out the whole sentence. So you'll include the words already there, plus you'll fill in the blank with the correct word. For numbers 1, 2, and 3, you're going to choose which of these vocabulary words is the best fit. You're going to fill in the blank with either the word point, line, or line segment. You can always look back to page 81 in your textbook to see what those words mean. I'm going to pause the video now, or you can pause the video. Try those first 3 questions, then hit play and you can check your answers. Okay, did you try those first 3 problems on your own? If you did, now you can check your answers. For number 1, your answer should say a point is an exact location in space. Number 2 should say a line segment is a part of a line with 2 endpoints. And number 3 should say a line is a straight path continuing without end in 2 opposite directions. Great job. Now, we're going to try our next 2 problems, numbers 4 and 5. The directions say, decide whether each figure forms an angle, then explain your answer. So for these 2 problems in your notebook, you're going to write if yes, it is an angle, or no, it's not. Once you decide if it's yes or no, briefly explain why you came up with that answer. Now pause your video and write your answers in your math notebook or on your piece of paper. Then you can press play and check your answers. Did you try numbers 4 and 5 on your own? If you did, check your answers. For number 4, your answer should be no, that is not an angle. The reason it is not an angle is because the lines don't connect or intersect to form a point. They're disconnected. Number 5 is an angle, yes. The reason it is an angle is because the 2 line segments meet up at a common point, in this case, point Q. Now let's try our last problem on this page, number 6. The directions want you to try and name the angle. So let's take a look at it. See if you see any points that are named. If you do, decide how you're going to name the angle. Pause now and write your answer in your math notebook. When you're done, press play and check your answer. Did you try it on your own? Great. If you did, you should have ended up with the name angle B. The endpoint of the angle has been named with letter B, so we can just go ahead and call that angle angle B. Turn the page in your textbook to page 84. We have a few more recall our prior knowledge problems we're going to try today. Let's start with numbers 7 and 8 at the top of the page. In your notebook, go ahead and draw these shapes on your own as best you can. They don't have to be perfect. You can try to draw them on your own, or you can trace them. For number 7, you're going to draw a rectangle. A rectangle has 4 sides. For number 8, you're going to draw a pentagon. A pentagon has 5 sides. Once you've drawn each shape, what you're going to do is mark an angle in each shape. To mark an angle, you just draw a small half circle or arc. For example, in the rectangle, I could draw a small arc in the corner to show that there's an angle there. On your rectangle, choose a different angle to mark. In the pentagon, for number 8, you can choose any angle you want. Pause the video and try that on your own now. Did you try it on your own? Now check your answers. You could have marked any of these angles in your shapes. As long as the lines are meeting up in a corner and they're connected, you can mark any of those as angles. Let's try our next 3 problems. Remember that folded piece of paper you used earlier in our lesson? You can use that to help you now. Our directions say that we should decide whether the line segments in each angle form a right angle. Remember, a right angle is that perfect corner, or 90 degrees. Here it says you can use your piece of folded paper to help you. Once you decide if the angle below is a right angle, explain how you know. Pause the video now and try this on your own in your math notebook. Now that you've tried it on your own, let's check your answers. Did you try it on your own? All right, let's check our answers. Number 9, your answer is no. That is not a right angle. It's not a right angle because this angle is way smaller than that corner piece of paper. Number 10 is a right angle, yes. It is just right and fits with the corner of your folded paper. Number 11 is not a right angle. It is too big and is much bigger than the corner of your paper. Okay, these are our last 3 problems for today. Here are the directions for our next section. It says, look at the angles. That means these angles right here. It says, then answer the questions. You can use your folded piece of paper to help you. For number 12, you're going to look at those 6 angles and decide which of them are right angles. Then for number 13, decide which of those measure less than a right angle. And for number 14, which of those angles measure greater than a right angle. Use your piece of paper to help you. Pause the video now and try it on your own. Then hit play and check your answers. Now that you've tried it on your own, check your answers. For number 12, angles A and angles F were right angles. For number 13, angles C and E were less than a right angle. And for number 14, angles B and D were bigger or greater than a right angle. Great job today, boys and girls. Check your schedule for today and see what other activities you have to work on next for math. Tomorrow, our lesson will focus on naming angles using the different points that create them.